everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the analysis and reporting of the latest situation at the Avdiivka front. And just to inform you, the Avdiivka offensive, the Russian Avdiivka offensive is now confirmed. This information is now also confirmed by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and there is a lot of information that confirms that the Russians has launched a massive Avdiivka offensive, the super duper uber Avdiivka offensive. So a quick thing first is the overall picture of what is currently happening. There is an attack reported towards Karamik, and then there's another attack towards Bidaichi. This I had already reported yesterday. There's a new attack being reported towards the Avdiivka coke plant. There is attack from the south. There's attack. The one from the south is from Spartak. There's a possible attack from the Opitne region in the southwestern part of Avdiivka, and there's an attack towards Zhevene. There's an attack towards Tonenke, and there's an attack at Pervomaiske. So this is all of the offensive operations that's currently happening. And we move deeper. We can take a look. So there is Stepove over here, but the Russians doesn't seem to be attacking Stepove. It seems like they are going around an attack. Currently, they are entrenched on the outskirts of Bidaichi, which is here where the Ukrainians currently holding the defense line. They may be over at Stepove, but we are not so sure. So what the Russians are currently doing at the Bidaichi region is actually to prepare, because they have advanced so far ahead, right? So they are now entrenching themselves and preparing for a counter attack from the Ukrainians, which they expect the Ukrainians will do in a counter attack against their position. So far, this counter attack have not happened just yet. It looks like the Ukrainian forces has been really disorientated by this massive attack, and I got a very strong feeling the Ukrainians do not have enough troops and equipment at the Avdiivka front to deal with this massive assault. The attack towards the Karamik in the north is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. I do not have any information from the Russian sources saying that there is this attack over here. The Ukrainians are holding Karamik and Novokalinove over this area here, and so let's see how this goes. We're not so sure what is exactly happening in the north. What we do know is that over at this Avdiivka coke plant region, there is some pile of dirt or rubbish dump or something, or is a previous mine. So basically, there's some hill and high ground kind of thing. The Russians currently is storming this region here. The Ukrainians are currently positioned over there. They are defending that position to prevent the Russians from taking over. To take over that position will allow Russians to have high ground and a good perspective across the entire northern part of Avdiivka. And this coke plant region is extremely important because this industrial zone is basically like the fortress for the Ukrainians, but I don't think it's going to be much used if you don't have enough troops. There is actually no fighting being reported from the Vasily region, and there's nothing from the Kayamsky region or from the east, from this region. What is this called? Let me see. Kruta Balka. So the Russians actually have of Kruta Balka around here, and usually the deep state UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, will say that the Russians attack from this direction, but we do not have this, so we don't need to really worry about that. The Russians are holding Kayamka, they are holding Vasily, so this line currently is holding, and there is no need to push the Ukrainians in this direction, to be honest, because the idea is this massive pincer that is currently developing, and if all information is true, is some sort of a double pincer. So we have the attack from Bidaichi, which is likely to go for Avdiivka, and we're coming from the south going for Lesterkine. So it's going to be one hell of a headache. In the south, the Russians actually have this position along this railway line, and it looks like that there is this push that is moving up to the southern part of Avdiivka. Deep state, the Raiba, the pro-Russian source, reported there is an attack coming from the southwest. I'm not sure if this is actually referring to Opitne, or could it be just referring to the fighting from Vodian towards Giverny and Tonenke. But no, this definitely is something to watch as well. But this area here is not exactly that important, given the kind of things that is currently happening across the entire front right now. This is not that important, I would say. So the Ukrainians previously was attacking around this region here. The Ukrainians previously have this very successful offensive towards Opitne, and then there's also this offensive towards Vodian that is all pretty successful, but they did not manage to progress much further after the Russians managed to hold them along Opitne. So far, the settlement of Opitne is still under Russian control, and then the Vodian, similar situation where the Russians still hold control over there. Ukrainians have this stronghold around here, which there's no indication that the Russians have taken over, just on the northwestern part of Spartak. Spartak, in case you do not know, this is Spartak. This town, this outskirt, small little town is actually Spartak. And over at the Vodian region, there is geolocation of Russian forces at this position, which might, and this geolocation shows the Russians are on the offensive. So there's a possibility that the Russians is actually also pushing in this direction. And just that the more famous one currently we are seeing is this attack towards Tonenke and towards Giverny. Geolocation shows that the Russians have already progressed all the way to the eastern part of Giverny. So that is actually quite deep. There is armored vehicles, and according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they say that this attack is by 3 battalions. So 3 battalions strong is a whole brigade. If we use a NATO style of understanding the size, so there's a massive force that the Russians have sent into the Avdiivka offensive. So the Tonenke one is actually reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, as well as Raiba. So far, we have no mapping or any geolocation to show how far they have gone. But I would say if the Russians are able to push from Giverny, oops, wrong color, Giverny, and they go into the rear, capture Giverny, they can actually push on to Tonenke, and this would allow them to hit Avdiivka in the southern Pincer. In the northern Pincer, Badaichi is currently under threat. If the Russians capture Badaichi, they can go for Semenivka and then go for Avdiivka. Both roads leads to Rome, and or rather Avdiivka, and so this will be problematic for the Ukrainians. I want to explain why. This massive city of Avdiivka has only one road out. Currently, there's only one road, which is this road from Avdiivka all the way to Leshtokine over here, and then it leads to this junction at Avdiivka. From Avdiivka, it's stretched down to Tonenke. This goes up to Semenivka, and it goes west towards Umaniske, and then they actually swing up and then go further away to whatever they need to go. So from Semenivka, there is also an alternative road to the same place, and there's another road from Badaichi going up north. So all the roads basically depending on this road. This is the main road that the Ukrainians have to keep alive, and the idea is that if the Russians able to cut this road, regardless at which angle or which place, then Avdiivka is operationally encircled. So given that Avdiivka is so vulnerable, and Avdiivka as a whole, as a city, is actually so vulnerable, this is possibly why Russia have never really wanted to capture it, despite the Ukrainians allegedly had constantly fired artillery rounds from Avdiivka into Donetsk city against the civilians. But that's alleged. I don't want to commit anything because YouTube literally tell me I cannot commit that. I cannot say that. So the Ukrainians don't do that. Yeah, just to balance purpose, Slava Ukraini, and okay, so let's move on. The Ukrainians are currently holding the position at Pervomaiske. They have managed to do some very successful offensive in this area here, pushing back the Russians. But it looks like the Russians, it doesn't really matter to the Russians. If you look at this strategic picture, as I mentioned before, it really doesn't matter what the Ukrainians do in these various offensive that the Ukrainians have successfully done, because ultimately it is this one road that is the pure vulnerability of the Ukrainian forces at Avdiivka. And I actually did this analysis almost a year ago, and the Russians never went into it. They did some push, managed to capture Krasnohorivka, Vodian, and getting closer and closer. But in the end, they never want to bite. The jaws have really go around Avdiivka, but they never close the jaws. And I just wondered, when they will ever do it. And I'm kind of surprised that they actually do it now. Maybe this is the attempt to cause PR issues for the Ukrainians, because the Ukrainians just sort of ended. The offensive have not ended yet. The spring offensive is still ongoing. Now we are going through summer, and now we are already in autumn, and it became an autumn offensive, and the Ukrainians basically has stuck in the South Bakhmut region, and also in the Orikhiv sector of the Zaporizhia front, around Robotine, Verbove, Novoprokopivka. The fact that the Ukrainians push South Bakhmut is also something to do with the failures of the Ukrainian offensive over in the Zaporizhia front, where they are supposedly heading for Melitopol, and then now they can only make do for Tokmak, and they can't even get through to Novoprokopivka. So that's why they go for the South Bakhmut offensive, which seems to get more traction, because there is actually a much harder defensive position for the Russians. But even that, they are now stuck at Klishevka and also at Andriivka. And then now the Russians go on this Avdiivka offensive. If the Russians capture Avdiivka, it will literally negate whatever gains the Ukrainians have successfully gained over this offensive over the past half a year. And this would lead to a massive PR disaster for the Ukrainian side, and the West, all these European countries, America, is going to question if there is any meaning in providing a more support for the Ukrainian state to defend against the Russians, and then they will just probably give in to not giving up. They probably give up and just force Ukraine into negotiations, which is why we are also hearing Zelensky commenting that even if the West do not support, they will fight on. This kind of weird statement coming out to us around a week or so ago is very, very out of character. And so this offensive is the offensive to end all of Ukrainians' offensive, I would say. And this is not the only Russian offensive that's currently happening. There is a Kupiansk offensive. We're fighting over Sinkivka and the Kaislivka region. There's another offensive that's just started over in Voleda region. Marinka, of course, is still ongoing. And then there is still the constant clash over at the Serebransky forestry. There is a Makiivka offensive, which the Russians have basically closed up to the outskirts of Makiivka, just off Nevsky. So things are looking extremely bad for the Ukrainians, and you can see there is not much. This is just one road, and they are just 2 towns from the top, 2 towns from the south. 2 towns from the top, Bedaichi, Semenivka, and then in the south, Jevene, Tonenke, and that's it. They are already just off Olivka. They will be already in distance to just put fire control on the road. They don't even need to conquer Leshtokine or Olivka. They will be able to conquer or operationally encircle Avdiivka and force a surrender of all the troops within Avdiivka. So anyway, this is the analysis and a report from the Avdiivka front for the Avdiivka offensive by the Russians, which we can just call it the super duper uber Avdiivka offensive. Anyway, thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next update.